Hey, it's Mike here from Akari Productions, and today we're going to do a full tutorial on hammock camping with the ENO. Alright, now first off, you're going to need your ENO hammock. This is a double nester. You can get a single or a rector. There's many different types, but for me, I just went with the double. And so yeah, that's what you need to start with. Alright, so second off, to make your hammock suspend, you have to have the suspension strap from ENO. Now these are the Atlas, means they're going to have the loops in them. It's just another style of strap, it's the one I prefer. So now I can show you how to put the hammock up. Alright, so unlock, just zip it, take it out. This is my ridge line, doesn't come with it. I have my carabiners from the hammock already attached here. So I can keep my hammock, I'll explain to you why later. You got to pull out your straps and you just roll them out. You got one strap, then you got the second strap. Make sure you don't lose this badge. You got to put it somewhere safe. Alright, so now you're going to take one strap on each of your trees. Alright, and then one side's going to have a bunch of loops in it, and the other side's going to have one loop in it, as you can see here, and there's nothing else. You're going to slide the side with all the loops in it into the one that doesn't have but one loop. So you slide through, and this is going to slide through and it's going to pull. And then you're going to pull this about a good height. I'd say, you know, good 7 feet high. Of course, regulation is it's all about preference. You can do whatever you want, but that's how you get the one strap on there. You just let go, let it drag, ready for the next one. Alright, so now that you got your suspension strap on a tree, I forgot to mention this early, is that you got to find two good sized trees that are still alive, and a preference to 10 to 15 feet apart. This one right here is about 11 feet apart. That's just how I like it. So remember that. Alright, so for most of y'all who have ENOs, normally it's just for recreational purposes and you're not actually going to camp in it. But when you're camping in it, this is a big preference. It's a big debate about the ridge line. Should you get one? Do you need one? I don't know. For me, it's a preference. Do you need one? No. But you know, I like to use them. They're a big help. So first, you're going to take your strap with the carabiner attached to the ridge line. And you're going to hoop it through one side. Alright? And then you're going to pull it through until you meet the other side of the strap. Now you want to loop it whichever direct, like how high it is, doesn't really matter too much. As long as you want your string level. Now if you can see this, you notice that this is not level at all. So this side's a little bit higher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this carabiner, I'm going to unhook it from that loop, and I'm going to move it down maybe about one loop. We'll see if that does a trick. Alright, I'm going to do two loops. It's still not quite level. Alright, so if it gets this low, I'm going to go ahead and raise this side up a bit more. There you go. Now that's pretty much level right there. That's exactly what we're looking for right here. Alright. So now we're going to take out our hammock. You're going to unbuckle it, unzip it, open it up. There it goes everywhere. Now your hammock will have two ends to it. Both like this. Doesn't matter. There's not really a top and upside down form for these hammocks. So you're just going to take one side and you're going to loop it to your carabiner. Slap through like that. See, it's all attached. And do the exact same thing to the other side. Right here. You don't take it. It's done. Now with this, now your hammock is set up. So you can actually just lay in it. Of course, this is that double one. You just pull it through here, lean back, and sit on it. Look at that, all set up. So you can sleep, just cut back, take a nap. Alright, so now when you're sleeping in a hammock, you're going to need either an under pad to fit inside or an under quilt to keep your butt warm when you're sleeping. Because just a sleeping bag alone won't work, because when you put it inside here, it'll compress all that fabric and all them feathers, and it won't do you any good, just as much as this itself is. And this is not windproof by far at all. So that's why you pick up an ENO underquilt. This is the Ember 2. Now this is a synthetic material. You could get down feather. Really, it's a preference and whatever fits your budget. This one is more of a budget-friendly option, being only around $100. So the first step you need to do is unzip it, and then you pull out the underquilt. You take this, put it in your hammock, make sure you don't lose it. It's not a part of the underquilt itself. So here it is. Looks like a giant blue banana. It's very nice, keeps you real warm. On the ends, you'll have these little bungee cords, just like this. And you're gonna hook this to your carabiner as well. Take one end, we're gonna hook it through. All right. Then we're gonna go take the other side of it and hook this one through the other side. Just like that. Now you may notice that the hammock, underquilt, and the hammock are like separate from each other. So that's really easy. All you gotta do is you gotta open up your underquilt, pick up your hammock, and you're just gonna lay it inside your underquilt. Shake it up, and there it is. It's just sitting inside of there. Now to get in the hammock with the underquilt in, you're gonna pull the edge of your hammock down, grab both hands, making sure you can have a hold of the actual hammock, then lean back with your foot in it, slide over, and then you're gonna wanna pull up this side, pull up the other side of it so that you're good and tight and hugs around you. And then you're ready to go. You're ready to stay warm. You'll never feel cold around your butt. Now all you gotta do is get an overquilt or sleeping bag. Alright, so now I'm gonna explain to you about the ridge line like I was talking about earlier. So this is just a piece of 550 paracord. You can use whatever paracord you want as long as it's gonna hold a good enough weight. Make sure it can hold your body's weight. So what this does is this creates a 30-degree angle sag. When you're setting up your hammock, you want to make sure that the angle from your rope, from this right here, your strap, to the tree level has got to be 30 degrees. Now, of course, these two trees are a little bit closer than preference, so that's when this comes into play right here. This will keep the sag the optimal position you want. So if I take this off, my hammock will drop a whole lot lower. This is keeping it from sagging down real low and keeping it straight. You don't want your hammock way too straight where it's pulled out like that, because then you'll be sleeping on a line and it'll mess your back up bad. You don't want too much sag because you'll be sleeping like this, laying in there. Optimal position so you can lay back and sit in the hammock. Another reason for a ridge line is you can take carabiners, hook them on there, and you can attach whatever you want. If you want a light when it's dark, or you want to put a stuff sack up here so when you're sleeping you can just grab a flashlight, maybe your phone, if you have your phone with you, maybe some snacks and peanuts, whatever you want, trail mix, it's all good. It's always right there. So it's a very utilized, technical type of rope. Real simple, but it does a great trick in a lot of things, and it'll come a lot handy when you're out there in the middle of the wilderness. Alright, so now the last thing that you really need is a rain tarp. Because what are you going to do that you're out there camping and it starts raining and you're in a hammock? Seems like a pretty good water carrying type thing itself. Feels like a giant boat, right? Well, you need a rain tarp. This right here is the ENO Pro Fly. This is pretty much the most standard tarp you get. It's just a rectangle, nothing fancy about it. This is only, the ENO Pro Fly is only fit for ENO hammocks with like a length about 7 feet. So the actual tarp length from tree to tree is about 8 feet. Alright, so now you're going to open it up. Just like every other ENO, it's got its own little stuff pack with it. Now, you need to buy 4 stakes with this. They do not come with the hammock. So you got to go to a store and get these. Now, of course, these are only like $3 for 4 of them at Academy or any local sports store you get. Real light, and they'll fit in a stuff sack with it. Lay those there. Alright, so you're going to take this out. It's in there. Don't lose this stack as stuff stack as well. Put them in there. You unroll it. Fold it up real good. And out comes the Pro Fly tarp. You're going to take the inside, which will have the ENO logo on it, and you're going to flip it over your hammock. And you're just going to drag it along your ridge line. Just like that. Leave it just hanging just like this. Alright. So now comes into play putting in your stakes. and tying off your ends. Alright, so now you're going to take the end that's close to a tree, and it's got this paracord on it. The end of it is just, there's no loop or anything. So what you're going to do is you're going to take it in, you're going to pull it through, bring it around. Now you're going to tie off a knot. There's no specific knot. I just do 2 normal knots. Pull it tight, good and tight. Do another knot. Maybe you want to do 2 or 3 knots. I normally do about 3 just in case, because this is going to have a lot of pressure on it when you tighten everything up. Now, notice that there's a whole lot of sag right here, and it's still not up. That's why you have these little tie-offs, and these little zipper things are like amazing. I didn't understand how these used until a while. So you're going to take it, you're going to pull this back, and you're going to pull this little tag here, pull in the paracord, and pull it through, just like so. And it zips it up, and now you don't have any sag left in it. So then you're gonna do the same thing to the other side. Alright, so now you have all these tightened up and pulled, so it's about level on the top. It's right above your hammock. So now what you need to do is you gotta make sure that the top of the rain tarp needs to be over your hammock on both sides. That's key. Otherwise, you'll have part of your hammock extended and rain will get to it and you'll be wet in the morning and it will not be a fun trip. Alright, now you're going to need to tie off your 4 corners of your tarp. Now they have that same zip tighten piece like the top does. So on your end, you don't need to really stake this real far out. But what I do is you got to tie a loop at the end of it. This is a simple loop knot. And you slide your stake through it, just like so. I'm going to put this in the ground somewhere. Put them in the ground just like that. So now, you're just going to do the same thing as the top. You're just going to pull this up and pull this cord through. Until that's good and tight. Just like that. Do the same thing to all 4 sides. Alright, so now that your hammock's all set up, you can use your trekking poles to set your hammock in porch mode. If you get down here in your hammock, just like this, you can still see outside and see all the beautiful stuff, while the back side is still facing down in case the rain comes. It's a great idea, and it doesn't require you to bring any extra materials. Just using what you got can make your hammock life a whole lot better. So this is basically your view from inside of the hammock. Now you can adjust your tarp to fit the way you want just by, tightening ends and loosening ones up and shifting the whole thing around. But this is good for me. You just got your underquilt under you here, sit in your hammock. Now I forgot to mention, when you're sleeping in your ENO hammocks, you never want to sleep going straight like this. Never want to do this. It's so uncomfortable. You gotta sleep at an angle. You're going to find every different sag that you have will have a different angle of sleep that you need to do. For mine, you just scoot around, you find it, and you'll end up laying, when you lay down completely, your butt will be laying flat. You won't have as much of this going on with your back will be flat. Real nice. Now you might be leaning slightly down or slightly up. It doesn't really matter. Your head will still be propped up by the end of the hammock, so it's not as weird as it seems. But it works great, and you'll sleep like a baby, trust me. You'll look at all those campers in the tents, you'll be like, bruh, you're sleeping on rocks. I'm sleeping in the air. Now, of course, there is one piece of equipment that you might want that I do not have, and that is a bug net. Now, of course, that'll run you about $30 more, $30 to $50, depending on which ENO one you get. And that just hooks on just like this underquilt attached to your carabiners that hovers around you on this ridge line here, and it goes around and just covers you with a giant mesh. For me, that is kind of, you don't need it, I guess. You can use bug spray, and as long as you go somewhere when it's not in a big bug season, you should be fine not using one. And if you want to run your tarp lower to the ground. Now, I'm not saying go out in the middle of summer without a bug net, because you probably should get one and hook that up there, and I'll be getting you one soon for summer trips in the fall when the bugs are bad. But for winter trips, You don't need a bug net. There's no bugs out there. They're already dead because it's too cold. Now, if it gets to below 50 degrees, this Ember 2 is rated for 50 degrees alone. So, I don't know if I would trust it or not. I'd say if it was 60 degrees, yeah, you just need this and maybe a blanket. But if it gets below 60 in the 50s and 30s, you're definitely going to need an overquilt or a sleeping bag. For me, I bought a sleeping bag because it's dual purpose. In case you do need to sleep in a tent, you have a sleeping bag that works great. All you can do is unzip it, put your feet in a feet box, and then lay it around you and snuggle in. Or you could just get in it like a normal one and just sleep in here. But then again, you don't have that much room. And getting in is a little more difficult because you have to put a sleeping bag on and then lean over and put them in the hammock. But they both work great. It's whatever you want to carry. Really, there is no wrong way of camping. It's all just preference. This is just how I do it, and this is my ENO system. Alright, so now talking price range for my setup. If you get all of this here that you see, it's going to run you about $285. Now that's not including a bug net or sleeping bag / underquilt. But that may be a little expensive. I know that ENO brand things are not exactly the cheapest, but the name is a good name with the brand. It's very high quality grade material and it'll last you a long time. So is it worth it converting from a tent camping to a hammock camping? It's really preference. I think the price is about the same if you buy a nice tent, a nice sleeping pad, if you get a sleeping bag, because I mean all of those things add up. So that's not really one's more expensive than the other, but once you have all your setup, you can go out whenever you want and just have a great time out in the wilderness.